It's 8:10, Pride in the Morning here, and joined in studio this morning by Corey Poirier, editor of Island Business News magazine, and also author. How's it going?
Awesome. How are you doing, Chris?
Not too bad. Now, last year you were here talking about your book, Conversations with Islanders.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell me about first of all, how did that do?
I think I was blown away by the support Islanders gave the book. It did extremely well. I didn't know how to gauge it, but I can tell you that within probably about 3 months of its release, we had went through the first printing.
Wow.
So I think it did extremely well.
Very nice. And now you have a new book out, Conversations with Atlantic Canadians. Tell me about that.
Well, I can tell you actually... It's funny. I guess what kind of became the catalyst for the book was doing radio interviews and people saying, "When are you coming out with the Atlantic Canadian version?" And so obviously I had planned to do it, but I set work on it a little bit earlier after getting the question a few times.
And there's still quite a few Islanders in this book, right? You interviewed Michael Smith and Jonathan Torrance, who I didn't even know was an Islander.
Absolutely, yeah. Jonathan was born in Prince Edward Island and used to work at Christopher's Beach Club.
Oh.
In Cavendish and at Thirsty's, if you remember Thirsty's Bar. And yeah, he was born here. He jokes in the book that he got his first break in a Charlottetown school play.
Nice. So yeah, and he was J-Rock from the Trailer Park Boys.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty cool.
And we have another Trailer Park Boy in the book as well. John Dunsworth.
Oh,
plays
really?
Mr. Leahy.
Oh, really? What's Mr. Leahy like?
He's awesome. He's a blast. But I think what's funny is that people expect him to be Mr. Leahy everywhere he goes. That he's going to have the drink in his hand everywhere he goes and stuff. But no, super guy, and to my knowledge, doesn't even drink.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he have a fat shirtless guy with him too, or no?
No, but actually, he's on tour with Randy right now, or at least he was last time I talked to him.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And you also chatted with comedian Nikki Payne.
Yeah.
We've had her on this show a few times. She's awesome, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a blast. Yeah. Nikki's well. I don't know if you even if we talked about this last time, but my background, I've been performing stand up for 9 years.
Yeah,
and so obviously to me, interviewing the stand ups was a real joy. But yeah, so Nikki, I've always been a huge fan. And just as a side note, one of the things that people will discover in the book, which might blow them away, is Nikki spends 10 to 15 hours a week writing material, and I'll write about 120 jokes. Wow. To get one joke that works for 30 seconds.
Wow, that's crazy.
Behind the scenes of comedy is a different world altogether.
I write one joke, and if it sucks, I still go with it.
That's a good plan too. You know what? Sometimes there's merit to that because you can test and see if it works, and then work on it again if it didn't.
There we go. I just cry myself to sleep if it doesn't work. It's no big deal. But moving on, what's the heart of this book? When we read this book, what do we go away with?
It's said in the first of the book and at the back of the book that kind of the catalyst was the idea that Atlantic Canada matters.
Yeah.
So the heart of it, what I'm hoping people will take from it is literally that you don't have to move away to be successful. You know, there's a common... I want to say a common mentality that I even heard growing up is that you have to either move away to be successful or hire the guy from away, all those types of things. But the truth is that the book proves, without a shadow of a doubt, I mean, it's all there in their own words, that the achievements of Atlantic Canadians literally rival those of a global scale. And
you do interview an awful lot of Atlantic Canadians who have become pretty famous and very successful, whether it's in the entertainment industry or the business side. If there was a commonality that they all had, what would that be? If there was one thing that you notice, one trait that you notice in everybody, what would that be?
If you forced me to say one word, I would say passion.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that with our publication, we've interviewed now over 1,000 people, and we try to go for the high achievers. And the most common trait looking backwards into the interviews, even in the wording of the interviews, or if I kept track during the interviews, is that they all love what they do. Yeah. So, in other words, they found their purpose in life. And John Dunsworth, Mr. Leahy, actually the header of his both his column in the paper and also his profile in the book is, if you love what you do, it'll never feel like work.
Huh.
So to me, that summarizes it, that the high achievers in Atlantic Canada that have been highly successful try to find a way to bring the positive into their life and also make sure they love what they do every minute of the day, if possible.
Who was the one interview that surprised you the most?
Surprised me the most? Probably Jimmy Flynn. Musical comedian Jimmy Flynn. Yeah. I mean, I think most people knew that he was successful in Atlantic Canada as a musical comedian. But when I started getting into the nuts and bolts of his bio and what he's achieved, I have to say I was blown away.
How different was he off stage?
You know what? He's still Jimmy Flynn.
Was he?
Well, I say that. I mean, he's not obviously the character to that extent, but we actually did a second interview at his house in Lawrencetown. We sat in the deck for 2.5 hours. I'm not going to lie to you. Him and I can both talk. And yeah, I mean, Jimmy was joking. I mean, it was Jimmy Flynn.
Wow.
So, and I think, people that are good brands, when I asked him in the interview, what is his brand? He said his belief is that a brand should be an extension of who you are.
Yeah.
So if it is, then it's going to be a part of you while you're off stage as well.
I guess there has to be a level of truth to everything you do, because people will spot it. If you're not who you are, people will get it.
Absolutely.
We're joined this morning by Corey Poirier, author of Conversations with Atlantic Canadians. Corey, can I keep this copy of the book?
Absolutely. That's yours.
All right. Now, last time you were here, you said that I might be able to make it into your next book. And you didn't even come by for an interview.
You know what? That whenever we were talking about that, we were talking about the more Conversations with Islanders, and that's in the works.
Okay,
that's the next.
Am I in the next PEI book?
You will probably. Well, now you've called me on it, so you have to be now. I think that's part of the deal.
There we go.
It's on the record, right?
There we go. Absolutely, it's on the record. All right. Thanks for coming in today, and best of luck with Conversations with Atlantic Canadians.
Oh, thank you so much.
Where can we order it?
You can go online if you want on the website. Probably the only difference is if you get that copy, you can get it signed. The website, which, not to confuse people, it's tisti.ca, which is TISTI.ca.
Okay.
But other than that, around town at Simply for Life, we have them in their clinics, Murphy's Pharmacies, most of them, Chapters, Sites and Bites, HMS, and so on.
Right on.
Around town.
And Island Business News still running strong?
Yeah, absolutely. 5 years.
Very nice.
And counting.
All right. Well, we'll chat with you, I guess, next year when more Conversations with Islanders comes out, eh?
Absolutely.
Take care.
Cool. Thanks.